Welcome to the Cityscape Global Podcast. And today I am joined by Yves Rathle. Now, Yves is the architect of Jacksonville's Stadium of the Future. So first of all, Yves, welcome. And what is the Stadium of the Future?
What was the Stadium of the Future? That's a question I tried to answer in my proposal for that particular stadium, where the stadium became part of the community. In the United States and all over the world, the trend was that the stadium was an object somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and it was surrounded by parking lots. In the study that I created, it became part of the community, and it's a special stadium because of its sustainability features. Basically, it's a stadium designed by the sun to protect you from the heat of the sun.
So explain that in more detail. I'm guessing it's about ensuring that those within the stadium can remain comfortable while they're viewing whatever it is that they are in that stadium. But how have you designed it so that it protects you from the sun?
So precisely at the time, and this was several years ago, the particular stadium that was used for the NFL team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and its ownership and the team, the saying was that it was like playing inside a microwave oven. And so when I first started analyzing it, I imagined a baseball cap. Do you know what we all know what a baseball cap is.
Exactly.
And what I imagine is a cap that you put on your head to prevent the sun from hitting your eyes or your face. But at the same time, the sun moves around the sky, or you follow the scientific path of the sun. And at one point, if the sun's here, the cap doesn't protect your face. So I created, in short, a structure that moves and follows the sun's path to protect you from the sun, inspired by the movement of the summer to winter solstice at its maximum impact inside the stadium. It's complicated, but it's a very simple concept. And that's what I had the pleasure of being invited to Riyadh last year to speak about. And my conversation with the audience was about the creativity and the creative process to create that particular design, not so much the finish views and renderings and all the rest of it. So it was very much what came out of the pencil and in my head. And the process is what's important to me, the creative process.
Mm-hmm. And with these stadium projects, like this Stadium of the Future, they always come with such huge expectations. And if you could give one piece of advice to cities and developers planning venues for upcoming mega events, I guess this is quite relevant to Saudi as we're heading off there for this event. What would your advice be?
Well, that's a very good question, because unlike KSA, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, 30 years ago, which I had visited for a project on the Red Sea, KSA and Riyadh have had a great start. What do I mean by that? I mean, all you got to do is look at Riyadh. And the most successful cities in the world is when money and creative experts join together. The failures of the cities, which are all over the world, especially the United States, is when government in particular cities let the spreadsheet, I call it spreadsheet design, will let the spreadsheet, which is what? A bank statement, dictate how to go forward. If you let the spreadsheet control the projects, you will have a very, kind of disgusting built environment, for lack of a better word. So when you co-author with the banks and the money, when you co-author, when the creative is co-author the spreadsheet with bankers, you have the most desirable environments in the world. So I think what we should focus on is the pedestrian experience. What is the pedestrian realm or the pedestrian experience? I would advise government to legislate the best possible pedestrian experience, because in the end, it is about the horizontal walk across the desert, or the caveman, our ancestors that walked across the desert, and they walked horizontally, and they ran into dinosaurs and all the rest of it. We all know the stories, the children's stories, until they hit a tree. And one of them climbed a tree, and he started looking around at the horizon, and he decided to build a tree house. So my advice is the way you create a sense of place on the ground and above the ground is through the pedestrian experience. And I'm not throwing around sense of place just because I like the word. I'm throwing it around because if you build an environment, you build buildings for buildings. And if there are no people, there's no built environment. So like in London, like in Paris, look, the Paris Olympics a couple of years ago, right? They brought the experience outside to the community. So my advice is to legislate change and progress through collaboration between the creatives, like in the Paris Olympics, dictated by really crazy creatives. And it was quite a show. And the pedestrian experience could be enhanced by creatives. But of course, the spreadsheet is the banks work together to make that experience and to create that sense of place. That's my advice to government on how to legislate better built environments.
In your experience, how often is that the case? Or
Very little.
Yeah.
Very little.
Yeah.
I scream, my mind screams in silence every day of my career, because being an architect is very, very special. Everybody has a dream to become an architect. They say architecture is the second to oldest profession in the world. I didn't come up with that quote. It's because you run into a mayor or a city council or government, right? And they want to be an architect so bad, they pick up their spreadsheet to control you. And I can't tell you how many times that's happened. Now, if I'm having a child, right, no matter where I am on what I believe in doctors or medicine, am I going to have a child without a doctor? Not in today's world. You got to be insane. But government tries to create built environments without creative professionals, such as architects, landscape architects, and urbanists, urban designers. And they try to tell us what to do. I would never dream of telling a doctor how to deliver a child, especially if I have my first child. Maybe my third or fourth, maybe I could know a little bit what I'm doing. But these governments, I could speak for it forever. But there are some unique places, and I think Riyadh is one of them, that have reached out to creatives, the best in the world, to affect transportation, parks, pedestrian realm. It's amazing. It's the speed of which KSA is doing it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I can talk about that for a while too.
Oh, I'm looking forward to experiencing it myself when I get there, and I'm sure many other people are too. Looking ahead, what design trends do you think will shape the next generation of sports and entertainment venues?
Well, let me start by this. When I was a kid, I had no interest in becoming an architect. I wanted to be a sportsman, an athlete. I loved athletics, the challenge of what it does. As a matter of fact, I have 4 kids and I've raised them through athletics to learn every valuable life's lesson. Like, if you fall, get up and all the rest of it. We've all heard those analogies. So when I was a kid, I wanted to become a tennis player, a professional tennis player, and a soccer player until I realized I couldn't. There are 15,000 professional athletes in the United States, roughly, paid athletes. And the job growth is expected to grow from 2025 to 2033 by 11%. So I think the future trend, is imagine an active interaction between the fan and your hero. There are sports heroes, right? For example, let me elaborate on that. The Greek mythology, there's Zeus, there's Prometheus, there's Achilles, Odysseus, Poseidon, Athena, right? Those are all Greek heroes, right? They were Greek myths, legends, and heroes. What are our today's heroes, right? You ask yourself, what are our today's heroes? The heroes and legends of sports. They were my heroes. Ronaldo, all the Ronaldos, Messi, Salah, Drogba. I'm just sticking to soccer since it's what, KSA is focused on. Mbappe, Drogba, Pele. Then you go into some of the older athletes like Michael Jordan, or the women like Serena Williams, or Simone Biles, Caitlin Clark, I think the basketball players. So women are coming to become heroes. That there's a female, strong female presence, right? That's going to affect the future experience of sport. In what way? Because sports is a place where the fan can become his or her hero. That's the future experience of sports. You bring in the fan experience on and off the field, meaning they walk through the stadium. We all got one of these. And I had the fortune, and another time I'll tell you the story of meeting Steve Jobs before the first iPhone, which changed my life. So how do you do it? You expand the venues of the stadiums and access entries. The interactive on-field experience and the digital experience of watching sports with the phone. You see? So I know that I read all sorts of documentation. They're working on cameras where invisible little cameras like pins that they could put on athletes while they're performing. And they haven't broadcasted that yet. But in our not too distant future, we're going to have the experience of watching a player while he's performing and feeling like it's him. It's in the works. So I'm talking about the fan experience. That's the future.
The Formula One now. If you think about the onboard cameras when you're watching Formula One and how exhilarating it is to actually see them and hear them. And what you're talking about is rolling that out across all the other sport professions, which will be fascinating. Watching your tennis hero as that ball comes towards them and they strike. That's
absolutely. And they're going to edit the broadcast, or maybe live or not. Who knows what they're going to end up doing it? Because if you watch Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, or Messi, those two guys, this is what you get, right? And then, but somehow they got to stabilize that, right? The technology is here. It's here. You could live broadcast. It's a matter of working it out. I mean, the big boys working it out, the monies, everything, the rights, all the lawyer, dance. So it's very exciting to me. Now, there are a lot of technical things you could do to stadiums to improve the fan experience. There's a lot of things that you can do. Like if you sit down in a seat, the way the seat is it a seat or is it a banquette? Does it have a plug-in for a little laptop or something or not. I mean, you could always, but in London, it's bloody cold in some of those, bloody. I always say that, and I'm not English, but it's freezing. And do you want to hang out with a cigar on a couch? In Florida, it's a microwave oven. I mean, and the sun's beating you, and a cap, a hat, that's not going to help. So, as I spoke earlier about the Stadium of the Future was this live stadium that moved like an animal to follow the sun paths. So that was very exciting. Unfortunately, the variation of that design kicked off another change politically for me. And the actuality of that design may not happen, but I'm looking to build it somewhere in the world that has a lot of heated sun.
I'm really looking forward to meeting you at Cityscape Global and continuing this discussion.
I was very excited when I was invited again to the convention. Historically, there's not many people that come back and talk a second time. But the lecture for me is not about the stadium anymore. It's how the community outside of the stadium can be integrated with the leftover space of the stadium 360 days a year.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do I describe? It's the leftover space inside and outside of the stadium. It can shape housing and urban planning. For example, most stadiums in the United States, let's talk about the football stadiums. Football stadiums in the United States can only show American football. And that's 9-10 weeks out of the year. And the rest of the year, they're empty. The bloody hell, you spent billions of dollars. And then you spend billions of dollars for each team. There are 32 teams. And I'm not talking about soccer. I'm not talking about, even in London, I'm a soccer junkie from Chelsea to Arsenal. I don't have one team that I love. It depends on the players. And for me, I follow the players, not the teams. But let me do this. Hold on. I got an idea. So to describe to you my lecture, it's going to be like, this is the soccer field, right?
Yes.
And if I take the soccer field and turn the card like this, right? And then I create a fake stand. I'm folding this live. Sorry, I just got an idea to help communicate, right? I got a stand. You see that?
Yeah. And
the stand in the United States may be like this for football. In soccer, it might be right on top of the stadium. So what's under the stand, right? What's under the stand? Nothing. It's empty. All this space is what I'm talking about. What do you do with all this empty space? Because no matter what the design is, my design of the future stadium designed by the sun to protect you from the sun, that's one thing. The cover, what it does, that's one thing. How's this connect to the community? How does the community connect to that? And I had a friend who died. His name is Raphael Vignoli, the famous architect in the United States. And he won a stadium competition with an easel and painting. He went to the interview and had gone out to the site and he painted the north, south, east, and west surrounding of the stadium and said, I painted, this is my north view, this is my south view, this is my west view, this is my east view. And he said, why do I want to build a multi-million, billion-dollar stadium for 9 weeks out of the year? I want to integrate. And he won the project because he showed 4 paintings. That's all he showed. He showed. And you know who assigned him the project? The accountant. He spoke to the accountant. Well, it doesn't make sense to spend that kind of money on only 9 weeks out of the year. Or I think it was a college stadium. I forget that. I'm sorry. Which one? Why not have connectivity to those spaces underneath the stadium? You could have how does urban design housing? How does destination restaurant fit under here? How does a whole city, even if you have high rises, How can they visually connect to the stadium? And so on and so forth. My biggest proposal for my stadium was I had a hotel operator ready to take the penthouse, the suites, because certain stadiums have suites. And I was going to turn the upper level with a view to the city into hotel suites. So you and your family, you have a barbecue deck, you have open air, but you have private Airbnbs or suites that you can hang out the day before, 2 days before, a day after, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where I think the lecture is going to go about that connectivity to the community.
Yeah. And fostering a full experience rather than just the experience of that particular game or match that you attend.
Yeah. It's about, in America, there's a big event that's called tailgating, right? I don't know. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
So I was asked in the heat of designing this stadium, the future, what's going to happen to my tailgating experience? Like they wanted to have their beer from the back of their car underneath the pop-up tent. And I said, no, it's going to become part of an urban environment. And you're going to park your car and you're going to be enriched by the pubs, by the clubs, by the restaurants on the street. Anyway, because I was creating not only the stadium, but an environment around the stadium. So I'm going to show how that can evolve. A little bit of what I've done, but I'm going to talk about the process of how to create that interaction of connectivity.
Well, I'm really looking forward to hearing more about it at the event. So thank you very much for your time today, Yves, and look forward to seeing you in Saudi in November. Thank you.
It's my pleasure and looking forward to meeting you.